I grew up on borrowed prayers, folded hands that weren't mine. Heard your name in whisper rooms, but I never crossed the line. I watched them fall to their knees like they knew you face to face. I stood quiet in the doorway, living off their grace.
I said maybe someday, when the pain makes sense, when the dark has answers and the questions end.
I was living on secondhand hope, borrowed light in a borrowed soul, held together by words I was told, but never believed as my own. I leaned on the faith of another when mine was nowhere to be found. I was living on secondhand hope, just enough to not break down.
I saw peace in my mother's eyes, even when the nights were long. She sang songs through the tears like she knew she belonged. I thought faith was for the strong, or the ones without regret. I didn't know you met us in the mess we're in.
I said I'm fine like this, standing on the side, close enough to feel you, too afraid to try. I was living on secondhand hope, borrowed light in a borrowed soul, held together by words I was told, but never believed as my own. I leaned on the faith of another when mine was nowhere to be found. I was living on secondhand hope, just enough to not break down.
If you're real, then why so quiet? If you're near, then why the ache? I've been breathing borrowed courage just to make it through the day. I don't need all the answers, I just need to know if I fall apart tonight, will you still be close?
I remember the night I stayed when I almost walked away. Something in the silence said, you're not too far gone to stay. It wasn't thunder or fire, just a calm I couldn't fake, like a hand upon my shoulder saying, child, you're safe. I was living on secondhand hope, borrowed light in a borrowed soul, held together by words I was told. Now they're starting to feel like home. I leaned on the faith of another till my heart learned how to cry out loud. I was living on secondhand hope, but I'm reaching for you now.
If belief is a journey, then this is my start. No longer just watching, I'm giving you my heart.
I've been standing near the window, watching morning touch the street. Everyone around me moving like they know where hope is. I hear you in their conversations, in the way they're not afraid. I borrow strength from what they say, just to get through one more day. I don't know how they trust you with the weight of all their fears. I just hold on to the confidence when mine disappears. I'm walking in borrowed light, seeing through somebody else's eyes, holding on to what they believe when I can't see past the night. I've seen joy in unexpected places, in rooms heavy with regret. I've seen peace rest on their shoulders, like a promise you've kept. I tell myself it's coincidence, try to reason it away, but something in the way they stand won't let me turn my face. If faith is more than feelings, more than words people say, then maybe I've been closer than I've ever let myself say. I'm walking in borrowed light, seeing through somebody else's eyes, holding on to what they believe when I can't see past the night. It's not mine, but it keeps me going, keeps my heart from giving up the fight. I'm walking in borrowed light, hoping one day it's mine. If you're there when I'm not calling, if you stay when I ignore, then maybe you've been patient waiting just outside the door. I don't need a perfect fate, I don't need to understand, I just need enough courage to reach out my hand. I remember how the darkness didn't feel so absolute, when someone said your name aloud, like you were in the room. It wasn't loud or dramatic, no sudden burning sign, just a quiet sense of mercy tracing the edge of my mind. I'm walking in borrowed light, but it's starting to feel warm inside. Every step a little stronger, every doubt losing its hold tonight. It's not mine, but it's leading me somewhere I've never been before. I'm walking in borrowed light, but I'm not standing still anymore. If this is how you find me, leaning on what I can see, then take this borrowed light and slowly make it me. I heard a name on her lips, like a carrier through the night, spoken soft in the kitchen light, and the world didn't feel right. I thought it was just habit, something people learn to say, but there was peace in the way she said it, like fear had no right to stay. I never asked what she meant, I never wanted to know. I was afraid if I listened, something in me would break open. Your name was on her lips when she didn't have a strength. Your name was on her lips when nothing else made sense. I didn't know what it meant back then, I just knew her steadied her breath. Your name was on her lips, but somehow it kept her standing. I watched the kneel beside the bed with worries she never said. She trusted you with things I kept locked inside my head. I thought faith was a crutch for hearts too weak to stand, but she looked stronger on her knees than I ever did on my old plans. I told myself I was fine, didn't need what she had found. If you hear the words you say, do they hear me too? Standing in the shadow, unsure of what is true. I don't know how to pray, I don't know where to start, but I've seen what hope can do in a faithful heart. One night affect your name just to see how it would feel. Didn't sound as confident, beat a soundless wheel, but something in the silence didn't turn away like you weren't waiting for perfection. Just honesty that day.
Your name was on her lips.
Now it's echoing in mine.
Your name was on her lips.
Long before I crossed the line. I'm still learning how to trust, still learning how to stand. But your name was on her lips, and now I understand. If borrowed faith brought me this far, then I'll start with what I know. Your name was on her lips, and it led me home. I heard the words before I felt them, spoken like they knew the way. Hands reached out across the table, said let's pray before you leave today. I bowed my head out of respect, not conviction, not belief, just standing in the echo of someone else's peace. I didn't think you were listening, didn't think it mattered much. I thought faith was just comfort for the ones who needed something to trust. These were prayers I didn't believe, words I never thought would reach past the ceiling, past the room, past the doubt inside of me. But they said your name like it was real, like you cared enough to see. These were prayers I didn't believe, but they kept praying over me. I watched their voices start to shake when the fear was closing in. They trusted you with everything I was afraid to admit. I told myself it was coincidence when things didn't fall apart, but something in the way they hoped started working on my heart. I kept my distance from the meaning, kept my questions safely closed, but I couldn't ignore the peace they had when I felt the most alone. These were prayers I didn't believe, words I never thought would reach past the ceiling, past the room, past the doubt inside of me. But they said your name like it was real, like you cared enough to see. These were prayers I didn't believe, but they kept praying over me. If you hear the ones who call you with the faith that isn't mine, do you hear me in the silence when I don't know how to try? I don't have the right words, I don't know what to say, but if mercy listens closely, I'm standing in the way. I remember when the darkness didn't feel so absolute, like something held the pieces I was sure I'd lose. I didn't fall to my knees, I didn't cry out loud, I don't know why now. These were prayers I didn't believe, but they started believing me. That maybe you were closer than I ever let myself see. They spoke hope into the air, and it settled over me. These were prayers I didn't believe. Now I'm learning how to speak. If this is how you find me, through the faith I couldn't hold, then take these prayers I didn't believe and make them my own. I chose a seat near the exit, just in case I needed air. Didn't want the questions, didn't want the stares. I watched the light through stained glass, paint the floor and borrow grace. I stayed close to the doorway, just in case. They sang like they believed it, every word, every line. I mouthed along to melodies I'd known my whole life. I was sitting in the back pew, close enough to hear the truth, far enough to hide my doubt and everything I've been through. I didn't lift my hands in worship, I didn't bow my head in shame. I was sitting in the back pew, hoping you still knew my name. I heard stories of redemption, like they were already mine. Talked about forgiveness, like it didn't take time. I wondered if you noticed someone standing on the edge, afraid to step forward, afraid of what's next. I told myself I'd leave early, slip out before the end, but something in the stillness wouldn't let me pretend. I was sitting in the back pew, listening but unsure, wanting what they were singing, but not ready to be sure. I didn't lift my hands in worship, I didn't know how to pray. I was sitting in the back pew, just trying to stay. If you see the ones who run to you, do you see the ones who stay behind? Quiet hearts and folded arms, hiding fear in open eyes. I don't need to be the loudest, I don't need to be the brave, I just need to know you meet us in the seats we're afraid to take. When the last song faded out and the room grew still, I felt something settle that I couldn't explain or kill. I didn't rush the altar, I didn't make a sound, but I left a little lighter than when I sat down. I was sitting in the back pew, but I wasn't alone. Something followed me out, like I was already known. I still don't have all the answers, I still don't know what to say, but I was sitting in the back pew, and you met me that day. into the room, close enough to hear you breathe. I watched hope move through the crowd, like it wasn't meant for me. They sang about freedom, like chains were already gone. I held on to my questions and kept my distance strong. I told myself I was fine, didn't need what they had found. But the way they leaned on you made my certainty break down. This was faith I watched from afar, something real but not my own. I saw it carry them through the dark, while I learned to walk alone. I didn't doubt that it worked for them, I just didn't know where I fit. This was faith I watched from afar, never sure it was meant for me. I saw peace in their surrender, joy that didn't fade with time. They talked about your goodness like it crossed some unseen line. I wondered if you noticed someone standing in between, not lost enough to cry out, not brave enough to believe. I stayed quiet in the noise, kept my heart behind a wall, but something in the way they trusted made a wall feel small. There's a flame I watched from afar, something real but out of reach. I saw it heal the broken ones, say things I couldn't teach. I believed in their belief, even when I couldn't see. This was faith I watched from afar, still it kept calling me. If you meet us where we're standing, not just where we're loud and sure, then maybe you've been patient, waiting at my door. I don't need a sudden fire, I don't need a perfect start, just enough light to step towards you with this hesitant heart. One night the distance felt smaller, like the air shifted somehow. I didn't feel a miracle, just less afraid of you now. I'm still learning how to listen, still learning how to begin, but the faith I watched from a distance is pulling me in. This was faith I watched from afar, now it's closer than before. I don't have it all together, but I'm not outside the door. I'm still walking through the questions, still afraid of what I'll find. But this faith I watch from afar is starting to feel like mine. If belief is built in moments, not thunder, not a sign, then take the faith I watch from afar and make it alive. It wasn't a sermon or a song, didn't come with a verse to read. It was coffee paid in front of me when I barely had the strength to breathe. I said thanks and kept it moving, didn't think it meant a thing. but something in the way they smiled stayed with me. I told myself it was nothing, just people being polite, but it felt like someone noticed me in the middle of my night. It was the kindness of strangers when I didn't know your name, hands reaching into my chaos, asking nothing in exchange. I didn't call it grace back then, I didn't see the threat, but the kindness of strangers kept me from giving up again. A door held open when I was late, a seat saved when I didn't belong, someone listening without fixing me, letting silence last too long. They didn't preach or push me forward, didn't tell me what was wrong, they just stayed when most would leave and moved along. I wonder why it mattered to them, why they chose to care. I didn't know I was standing in the answer to a prayer. It was the kindness of strangers showing up in ordinary ways, small mercies in broken moments, lighting on remarkable days. I didn't see you in their faces, didn't hear you in their tone, but the kindness of strangers made the world feel less alone. If you work through simple gestures, through compassion without a name, then maybe you've been closer than I ever dared to claim. I don't need a burning bush, I don't need a blinding sign. If love can move through human hands, maybe that's by design. Looking back I see a pattern, I was never on my own. Every time I almost folded, someone met me on the road. I thought I was just surviving, thought I made it on my own, but now I see I was being carried all along. It was the kindness of strangers that taught my heart to bend, every unexpected mercy, every well-timed friend. I didn't know it was your voice speaking through their care, but the kindness of strangers was you meeting me there. If this is how you find the lost, through love that doesn't pretend, then thank you for the stranger who loved me back to you again. I watched the ones who carried me start to bend under the weight. The voices that were always sure began to hesitate. They were strong when I was weak, they stood when I fell down. But even faith-filled hearts get tired, and I saw it then somehow. I thought if they were wavering, then what was I supposed to do? If the ones who believed the hardest were barely making it through. It was when their strength ran out, when their prayers sounded warm, when the answers didn't come, and the paper thin. But when their strength ran out, that's when you stepped in. I saw tears they tried to hide, face shaking in their voice, still choosing you in weakness, still calling it a choice. They didn't shine like heroes, didn't have it figured out. They just stayed when leaving would have been easier somehow. I learned faith isn't confidence, faith is staying in the room when nothing feels like victory and you don't move too soon. It was when their strength ran out, when belief felt hard to hold, when the fire burned down to embers and the nights grew cold. I thought fate may never fall, never asking why or when. But when their strength ran out, that's when you stepped in. If you're near the ones still standing, are you near the ones who fall? If you carry the strong believers, do you carry them all? I saw grace in empty hands, I saw hope without a sound, I saw love keep breathing when strength ran out. Now I know what faith looks like, not fearless, not loud. It's staying when you're exhausted and bowing when you're proud. I don't need perfect answers, I don't need control, I just need the God who stays when we've got nothing left to hold. It was when their strength ran out that my eyes were open wide. I saw you weren't built on certainty, but mercy at our side. If you meet us in our weakness, then I'm not afraid of them. Because when their strength ran out, that's when I saw you clearly then. If borrowed faith brought me this far, through the cracks, through the doubt, then I'll trust the God who stays when all our strength runs out. Knew the words before I knew why. Every chorus, every line. Sang them young, sang them tired, sang them just to pass the time. They were always in the background, like a radio left on. I never stopped to ask the meaning, I just sang along. I thought they were just melodies, simple, safe, familiar sounds, but they stayed with me in moments when everything broke down. These were songs I knew by heart long before I knew your name, words that carried other people through their joy and through their pain. I didn't know I was praying, didn't know I was reaching out, but these songs I knew by heart never left me in the doubt. I sang them in the car alone, late nights driving home. Sang them when the house was quiet, when I felt the most unknown. I didn't feel the faith they talked about, didn't feel the peace they claimed, but something in the way they sounded kept me from feeling strange. I said it's just repetition, just something from the past, but those words kept finding me when nothing else would last. These were songs I knew by heart, echoes of a deeper truth. One night the words felt different, like they knew where I'd been. They sounded less like stories and more like medicine. I sang them slower than before, let every line sit still, and I felt something break open without force or will. These were songs I knew by heart. Now they're saying something new, not just borrowed comfort, but a voice that's pulling through. I hear mercy in the verses, I hear grace in the sound. These songs I knew by heart, oh, where you found me now. This is how you speak to me, through words I've always known. Then take these songs I knew by heart and make my heart your home. I told myself I was fine, didn't need to cross that line. I lived somewhere in between, hoping compromise. I said faith was for later, when I had less to lose, when I could afford the risk of choosing you. I felt something pulling, but I kept it restrained. I didn't want answers that would call me by name. I was almost believing, standing right at the edge, close enough to feel the warmth, too afraid to step in yet. I saw the truth in front of me, but I questioned what it cost. I was almost believing, trying not to get lost. I watched out lose its grip, just enough to let me breathe. Every time I said maybe, something shifted underneath. I still held on to reasons, still defending my fear, but the distance between us didn't feel so severe. I told myself it was timing, not resistance or pride. But the closer you got, the harder I tried to hide. I was almost believing, with my heart half awake, reaching out in small motions, afraid of what faith would take. I didn't say yes out loud, but I didn't say no. I was almost believing more than I wanted to know. If belief is surrender, not certainty or proof, then maybe I've been closer than I ever knew. I don't need perfect clarity, I don't need to be brave. I just need the courage to let you stay. One night the fear felt tired, like it couldn't argue anymore. I didn't win the battle, I just stopped keeping score. I didn't hear a thunder, didn't feel the ground shake, but something in my resistance finally started to break. I was almost believing, now I'm standing inside, still holding my questions, but not running this time. I don't have all the in fragments, in quiet unseen ways. Then take this almost believing and meet me here today. I don't have the strength to stand, not the answers, not the plan. I've been leaning on the words I don't fully understand. I see faith in other eyes, like they've learned how to trust. I've been walking on their courage when my own isn't enough. I don't know how to reach you, I don't know how to begin. All I have is borrowed hope in a heart that's wearing thin. So carry me until I can, until my feet find solid ground. Carry me through borrowed faith, when mine won't make a sound. I don't need to run ahead, I just need you where I am. So carry me until I can. I've watched prayers lift the weary, I've watched mercy change a mind. I've seen you move through people when you felt hard to find. I don't have their confidence, I don't have their calm, but I'm staying in the room with my open palms. If grace is not about deserving, if love is not a test, then maybe I don't need to be strong to finally rest. So carry me until I can, until my faith learns how to breathe. Carry me through unanswered nights and questions I still keep. I won't pretend I'm fearless, I won't pretend I stand. So carry me until I can. If you meet us in our weakness, if you don't turn away, then I don't need perfect words, I just need you to stay. I'm not asking for a miracle, just enough to make it through, just enough borrowed strength to lean into you. One day I'll learn to walk alone, with faith that's fully mine. But until that day arrives, I'll trust you with the climb. If belief begins in falling, and hope is learned by head, then I'm safe inside your mercy, while you carry me until I can. So carry me until I can, until the fear lets go. Carry me through the waiting, through the yes I don't yet know. I'll take each step in honesty, I'll take each step I can. But until then, gently carry me until I can. Until I can. If borrowed faith brought me this far, through the dark, through the night, then thank you for the arms that hold me, till I learn to walk in light. Had my coat in my hand, halfway out of the door. Told myself I tried enough, couldn't do this anymore. Every doubt was shouting, every fear felt true. I was ready to leave it all behind, including you. I said silence means you're gone, that waiting proves I'm alone. But something in the stillness wouldn't let me go. It was the night I didn't walk away, when everything in me said run. I didn't feel brave, didn't feel strong. I just stayed when I was done. I thought faith meant certainty, but all I had was doubt that day. It was the night I didn't walk away. I remembered all the moments I was carried through the dark by a faith that wasn't mine, but still left its mark. I thought if you were real, you would have made it clear, but maybe staying in the tension is how you met me here. I didn't hear a voice from heaven, didn't see a sign, just a quiet sense of mercy saying take your time. It was the night I didn't walk away, when belief felt paper thin. I didn't find the answers, but I found a reason to stay in. I stopped demanding proof, I stopped needing my way. It was the night I didn't walk away. If you stay when we're resisting, if you don't let go, then maybe grace is patience more than I'll ever know. I don't need to understand you, I don't need control. I just need to trust the God who won't let go. Morning came without a miracle, no sudden change inside, but the weight I've been carrying didn't feel quite as heavy this time. I realized faith isn't choosing when everything feels okay. Sometimes faith is just surviving the night you almost walked away. It was the night I didn't walk away, and something started to grow. Not confidence, not clarity, just a quiet yes below. I don't know where this road leads, I don't know what it will take, but it began the night I didn't walk away. If belief begins instead, when leaving feels the same, then thank you for the night I didn't walk away. I
thought I had to stand alone, carry every weight myself. I wore my pride like armor, said I didn't need your help. But I was leaning on the shoulders of people I never thanked, being held together quietly by strength that wasn't mine to claim. I told myself I was surviving, but I was barely staying upright. Someone else was carrying me through the longest nights. I was held up by someone else when I couldn't find my way, when my faith was hanging by a thread, and I had nothing left to say. I thought I was still standing on my own 2 feet, but I was held up by someone else, and it was carrying me.
They never made a show of it, never asked to be seen. They just stayed close enough to catch me when I'd lean. I didn't know that love could look so quiet and so strong. I didn't know I was being kept all alone. If grace can move through human hands without a word or sign, then maybe you were closer than I ever realized. I was held up by someone else through the weight I couldn't bear, through prayers I didn't pray myself, but somehow still were there. I thought faith meant never falling, never feeling weak, but I was held up by someone else, and it was carrying me. If you work through borrowed strength, through compassion without a name, then every act of kindness is never just the same. I don't need to know who held me, I don't need to see, I just need to trust the God who carries me. Now I see the pattern clearly. I was never standing tall. Every step I thought was mine alone wasn't mine at all. I don't feel ashamed to say it, I don't feel small. I was held up by someone else when I thought I was falling. I was held up by someone else. Now I'm learning how to stand, not in fear or independence, but with open hands. If faith is learned by leaning in, and love is how we see, then I was held up by someone else, and you were carried. If borrowed faith brought me this far through the dark, through the pain, then thank you for the arms you used to hold me up again. I'd seen the glow in other eyes, heard the way they spoke your name, like hope was something solid, not just comfort in the pain. I told myself it was imagination, something people choose to feel. But then there came a moment when the light felt real. It wasn't loud or overwhelming, didn't take my breath away. It just stayed when I expected everything to fade. It was when the light felt real, not borrowed, not assumed. Something warmer than a memory, breaking through the gloom. I didn't fall to my knees, didn't hear a voice or sound. But when the light felt real, I knew I wasn't alone now. I leaned on secondhand courage, walked in shadows not my own. I followed faith at a distance, afraid to step too close. But something in that quiet moment shifted deep inside, like truth was no longer distant, just patiently alive. I didn't understand it fully, didn't know what it would mean, but doubt didn't feel so heavy as it used to be. It was when the light felt real, not just stories I've been told, not just hope in other people, but a warmth inside my soul. I didn't have the language, I didn't know how to pray, but when the light felt real, I stopped pushing it away. If you meet us in the quiet, not in fire or display, then maybe you've been closer than I let myself say. I don't need perfect clarity, I don't need control. If this light is truly mercy, then I'll let it hold. Now I look back on the darkness, and it doesn't feel the same. It didn't disappear completely, but it lost its claim. I still walk with unanswered questions, still learning how to feel. But everything changed the moment when the light felt real. It was when the light felt real that my fear began to bend. Not because I saw the future, but because I felt your presence. I don't have it all together, I don't know how I'll heal, but I trust the step I'm taking since the light felt real. If belief begins with moments that we cannot explain, then thank you for the night and day when the light felt real. I thought strength meant standing tall, never asking, never bending. I learned early how to hold it in, how to keep pretending. I watched others lean on you like it didn't scare them at all. I didn't know that learning to lean was how you learn to stand tall. I told myself I was fine, didn't need a hand to hold, but my heart was tired of carrying everything alone. I leaned before I stood, I trusted before I knew. I fell in to borrow mercy when my strength was through. I thought faith was confidence, a fearless point of view, but I leaned before I stood, and you held me through. I leaned on words I didn't write, on prayers I didn't say, on the steady faith of others who stayed when I'd sway. I didn't feel heroic, didn't feel brave or bold. I just stopped resisting and let myself be held. If grace is not a weakness, if love is not a test, then maybe falling forward is how we learn to rest. I leaned before I stood, before my feet were sure. I leaned into the promise I didn't fully know for sure. I thought belief would feel like fire, or something I could prove, but I leaned before I stood, and I leaned into you. If you meet us in the leaning, not the fearless or the strong, then I don't need to hide my fear. I don't need to pretend I'm wrong. I don't have all the answers, I don't have it understood, but you were there the moment I leaned before I stood. Now I'm learning how to stand with a heart that still can shake, not because I'm fearless now, but because I trust your grace. I don't stand in certainty, I don't stand in pride. I stand because I learned to lean, and you stayed by my side. I leaned before I stood, and I'm not ashamed to say that leaning taught me how to walk, and standing taught me how to pray. If faith begins in weakness, then I finally understood. I leaned before I stood, and you said that I was good. If this is how belief is born, I feel it, just understood, then thank you for the moment I leaned before I stood. I was taught to be self-sufficient, handle it, don't show the need. I learned how to carry burdens silently. I thought asking was surrender, a weakness I should hide. So I kept my prayers unfinished and my heart locked tight. I believed you helped the faithful, the ones who always knew. I didn't know that needing mercy was what you listened to. I'm learning to act, not demand, not pretend. Learning to ask without knowing how it ends. I don't have the right words, I don't have a plan. I'm learning to ask with open hands. watched others cry out boldly, call your name without shame. I wondered how they trusted you with that much pain. I stayed safe inside my silence, afraid of what I'd hear, but the quiet kept me distant, and the distance fed the fear. If you're not scared of questions, if you're patient with the weak, then maybe every hesitant prayer is something you can meet. I'm learning to ask, not confident, not strong. Learning to ask when I don't know right from wrong. I don't need perfect faith, I just need to stand. I'm learning to ask with open hands. If you hear the whispered prayers or the ones we barely say, then you hear my broken asking at the end of every day. I don't need to sound holy, I don't need to be sure, I just need the courage to knock at your door. One night I said your name without rehearsing the sound. It didn't fix the pieces, but it slowed the spiral down. I didn't feel ashamed of it, didn't feel small or weak. It felt like the first honest step I'd taken in weeks. I'm learning to ask, and I'm learning to wait, learning to trust your timing, not my pace. 'Cause I don't know what the answer is, I don't know when, but I'm learning to ask, and that's where faith begins. If belief is born in questions and hope is found in trust, then take this learning heart of mine, as I'm learning to ask. I said a lot of words before, but they never felt like mine. They sounded like what I was taught, not what I felt inside. I learned how to sound faithful, I learned how to say the right things, but my heart stayed guarded behind rehearsed belief. I thought prayer meant certainty, knowing what to say and when. I didn't know you listened closest when we stopped pretending then. This was the first honest prayer, no filter, no disguise, just the truth I couldn't hold in, spilling from my tired mind. I didn't ask for answers, I didn't ask for proof. This was the first honest prayer, and it was spoken straight to you. I didn't feel the room get quiet, didn't feel the heavens move, but something in the silence felt different, felt true. I wasn't brave or eloquent, I wasn't calm or sure, I just stopped hiding the doubt I'd been afraid to endure. If you already know our hearts before If you don't turn from tears, then I don't need to clean myself before I draw you near. I don't have the right theology, I don't have the perfect view. I just have a moment of truth, and I'm giving it to you. I walked away without a miracle, nothing suddenly made sense. But the weight I've been carrying didn't feel as dense. I realized prayer isn't shouting or knowing what to say. Sometimes it's just staying open and letting you stay. This was the first honest prayer, and I'm still learning how to speak. Still learning that you meet us in our weakness, not our peak. I don't have all the answers, I don't know what comes next, but this was the first honest prayer, and I finally felt at rest. If this is where belief begins, not perfection, not repair, and thank you for meeting me in my first honest prayer. I leaned on other people's faith for longer than I'll say. Walked in a light I didn't know, just trying to find my way. I carried hope like a secondhand coat, warm but not quite mine. It kept me standing through the dark until the right time. I was grateful for the shelter, but I knew it couldn't stay. I couldn't live forever on what someone else could say. This is no longer borrowed, not secondhand belief. This is something growing deeper, taking root in me. I didn't steal it from the straw, I didn't earn it through control. This is no longer borrowed, it's written on my soul. I remember all the moments I almost turned away when borrowed faith carried me through one more day. I don't look down on who I was, I don't regret the start, because every borrowed prayer led me to this heart. If grace is patient with our process, if love lets us grow slow, then maybe borrowed beginnings are how belief is grown. This is no longer borrowed, not something I repeat. This is breath inside my lungs, this is ground beneath my feet. I didn't wake up fearless, I didn't wake up whole, but this is no longer borrowed, it's written on my soul. If faith is something living, not a line we memorize, then it grows through doubt and waiting, through truth we can't disguise. I don't need to prove my story, I don't need to explain. I just know the light I walk in now is not the same. I still walk with unanswered questions, still learning how to stand, but now I pray with my own words and reach with my own hands. I don't pretend I never doubted. I don't hide where I've been, because borrowed faith was mercy, but this is belief within. This is no longer borrowed, not fragile, not pretend. This is something I will carry to the very end. I don't claim to understand it all, I just know I'm whole. This is no longer borrowed, it's written on my soul. If borrowed faith brought me this far, through the dark, through the night, then thank you for the borrowed light that led me into mine. I thought faith meant never breaking, never falling to my knees. But some nights I'm still shaking, praying for the strength to breathe. I've seen the altar from a distance, heard the songs but felt the doubt. Still you never walked away from me when I couldn't figure it out. I don't have the perfect answer, I don't ever feel as hard. I just know you stay beside me, even when I fell apart. And now I'm still standing here, not because I'm strong, but because you held me when I couldn't carry on. Every scar still tells the truth of how you pulled me through. I'm still standing here because of you. I've walked through quiet seasons where heaven felt close tight. I learned faith isn't shouting, sometimes it's staying through the night. I stopped pretending I was fine, stopped hiding all my fear, and somehow in the honesty you felt closer here. You never rushed my healing, never turned away. You met me in the waiting and called that faith, and I'm still standing here, not because I'm brave, but because your mercy didn't let me slip away. Every doubt that tried to win met your truth within. I'm still standing here because of you. You're the reason why. If breathing through the brokenness is proof that love survives, I won't boast in what I've conquered, I'll boast in what you've done. I'm standing on your faithfulness, not my own. I'm still standing here, through the storm, through the fire, held together by your love. When I was tired, I don't know what waits ahead, but I know what's true. I'm still standing here because of you. If tomorrow brings another test, I won't be afraid, because I've already seen your grace. Hold me in this place. I started out believing with words I overheard, truth passed down in fragments, hope I barely learned. I walked by borrowed candles in someone else's flame, grateful for the brightness, but it never felt the same. I knew the songs by memory, knew when to stand and pray, but something in the silence kept calling me to stay. If faith begins in echoes, then maybe that's okay, because every borrowed answer still pointed me your way. This is faith in borrowed light, learning how to see, standing in reflections till you shine through me. I didn't start with certainty, I didn't start secure, but faith in borrowed light still led me to the truth. I watched belief in others carry what I couldn't hold, saw grace lived out in weakness, saw mercy growing bold. I leaned on conversations, on prayers that were my own, until the dark asked questions I had to face alone. I don't despise the journey, I don't shame the start, because borrowed light was enough to lead me to your heart. If truth is patient with us, if love is never rushed, then even borrowed faith is still enough. This is faith in borrowed light, finding how to stand, learning how to trust you with my own hands. I didn't wake up fearless, I didn't wake up sure, but faith in borrowed light still led me to the truth. If the sun rises slowly and the dawn takes time, then maybe faith grows gently between shadows and light. I don't need to fake perfection, I don't need to pretend, I just need to keep walking until borrow becomes mine. Now I pray with open questions, still learning how to hear, still stumbling through the wonder, still choosing faith over fear. The light is getting stronger, but I remember when it started as a spark I borrowed from a friend. This is faith in borrowed light, becoming something real, not just what I've been told, but something I can feel. I don't claim full understanding, I just know I'm free, because faith in borrowed light led you straight to me. Thank you for the borrowed light that held me through the night. Thank you for the patient love that taught my heart to fight. I stand now in your presence, no longer just passing through, because borrowed light was mercy, and mercy led to me. Thank you for the borrowed light that held me through the night. Thank you for the patient love that taught my heart to fight. I stand now in your presence, no longer just passing through, because borrowed light was mercy, and mercy.